Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oklahoma News Report. I'm Rich Lenz. We begin this week by taking a closer look at the motives behind the state administration's decision to conduct what it calls an unprecedented audit of the State Department of Education, a move that was harshly criticized by the state superintendent and raises plenty of unanswered but intriguing questions. Jason Doyle reports on an audit that is controversial even as it begins. Jason?
Rich, we requested interviews with both Governor Stitt and Superintendent Hoffmeister this week, and we're told their schedules would not allow for it. Those supporting the audit say it's all in the name of transparency and accountability to make sure money really is spent in the classroom. With a record $3.1 billion in state appropriations and more than $2 billion in federal relief funds flowing into the State Department of Education, Governor Stitt and Oklahoma Secretary of Education Ryan Walters say it's their duty to track every dollar.
It's really important that we ensure that taxpayer dollars are being transparently used and are being accounted for.
The focus of the audit is the Department of Education's Oklahoma Cost Accounting System, or OCAS. Walters says there are two primary goals for the audit.
The first is specific looking at this OCAS system, and the OCAS system is an accounting system for which districts report how they spend their dollars that come to them through the funding formula. The objective two is to look at all dollars flowing into the department and ensuring that they are being, first of all, just reported on in a transparent manner, and then number two, are being used in accordance with state statutes.
When he ordered the audit, Governor Stitt insisted he was simply keeping a campaign promise, saying in a statement, "I promised Oklahomans that as governor, I would clean up state government and make it more transparent and accountable, and I am keeping that promise. As we make record investments in our public education system, students and parents deserve to know that their schools are spending our tax dollars appropriately and in accordance with the law." But that didn't sit well with Superintendent Hoffmeister, who is a member of the OETA board. She responded, "At a time during which there are serious audits we have requested which potentially involve criminal activity, and while 541 school districts are struggling to find normalcy during a pandemic, the governor's attack on public education couldn't be worse timing for students, families, teachers, and taxpayers."
This should be a positive and not a negative, which is why I guess I was somewhat disappointed with the reaction that we got from Superintendent Hoffmeister.
Representative Chad Caldwell was one of the 22 legislators who requested that the governor order the audit into the Department of Education.
When Auditor Byrd released her findings for the EPIC audit last October, included in those findings were specific concerns related not just to EPIC, but to the State Department as a whole and their cost accounting system.
It was in the EPIC charter schools audit that Auditor Byrd found spending information was being collected from districts through the accounting system, but there didn't seem to be a mechanism to check for compliance. She said in a statement announcing the audit, "I deeply appreciate Governor Stitt for his confidence in the findings of the EPIC Schools audit report released last year. It is clear EPIC's founders were able to take millions of dollars by manipulating the school's administrative costs reported to OSDE."
She found that there really weren't systems in place, nor was there any follow-up to ensure that our school districts were actually complying with their financial reporting requirements. So I guess you could say that our schools have been operating on the honor system for who knows how long.
This is the first time the State Department has ever been audited in a full investigative form. So we wanted to get this right. We wanted to ensure that the language being used, that the scope being used was took into account what the legislators requested and that their questions would be answered. And we wanted to ensure that all taxpayer dollars, again, not just state appropriated, but federal dollars as well, local dollars, fees, taxes, all the different sources of revenue streams that flow to the department, that all of those could be accounted for.
However, Hoffmeister says this isn't the first time the State Department of Education has undergone an audit. As the governor should already know, the State Department of Education has undergone more than 20 financial, compliance, and programmatic review audits by the State Auditor's Office in the last 6.5 years. Additionally, the governor's handpicked Secretary of Education approves every agency expenditure over $25,000 on a weekly basis. Every single spending request has been personally approved by Secretary Ryan Walters.
I'm always going to make decisions on what I think are best for kids. And I think ensuring that every dollar is being utilized for their outcomes, for their future, is putting students first. And I think that's exactly what this audit's going to do.
As far as when the new audit will be complete, that will depend on what Bird finds as her office dives into the department's accounting system.
Simply put, the goal here is to ensure that our valuable education dollars are going to the classroom where they belong.
We'll continue our discussion of transparency in government in a few minutes. That will be the focus of this week's conversation with Susan Cadeau.